All right. Have fun, everyone.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And just to double check again, we all can see my video as well.
Yes.
The deck. Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. We'll give everybody just like a minute or so to finish joining, and then we'll hop on. And then for anybody joining, if we could go ahead and just have everybody keep their microphones on mute and then video off just to save bandwidth for everybody else. So thank you so much. Okay, I think we've got over 30 right now, so we can go ahead and start. Hello and welcome everybody to the October Adobe Marketo Engage Deep Dive, where we'll be discussing maximizing email deliverability with Marketo and best practices for reaching your audience. Before we begin, we'll go ahead and discuss a few housekeeping notes. To ensure all of our mugs stay user-focused and a safe space for members in the marketing nation, we ask that all mug attendees follow these rules. No self-promotion or pitching of any kind. Don't contact people outside of the user group without their consent. So anybody in this meeting without their consent. And then if anybody shares their use case at the user group, please don't share that information without getting their consent first. This meeting is being recorded. If you do not wish to participate in a live event, this meeting, because it'll be recorded, it's going to be posted on our YouTube channel after the event and emailed out. So feel free to drop off and you can watch the recording later. If you have any questions about this, you can send an email to advocacy@adobe.com. Stay connected with the chapter. If you're here, you're probably already in the chapter, or maybe you saw something on LinkedIn, but to go ahead and get email invites as these events are posted, go ahead and go to mugs.marketo.com/Adobe Deep Dive Mug. Create an account that's associated with your Adobe Marketo Engage account, and you can sign up to join, and you'll get notified when an event is posted live, and you can register. And we have some upcoming opportunities. Adobe is sourcing speakers for the Marketo Engage breakout sessions at Adobe Summit 2025, which is just around the corner in March of next year. They encourage submissions from seasoned practitioners, thought leaders, and those with hands-on experience in B2B marketing. You can go ahead and scan the QR code. Submissions are open now through October 18th, so through the end of the week if you want to go ahead and submit something for the summit. And then recently they had their roadmap webinar. So if you go ahead and scan this QR code, you can get access to the roadmap webinar where they discuss the future directions of Adobe Marketo Engage and the AJO B2B edition. It's a 45-minute roadmap session. I attended. It was great. So go ahead and scan the QR code. This recording will only be available through the end of the month. So you'll want to, if you want to watch that, you'll want to do so quickly. There's only one remaining upcoming user group for the rest of October. If you're interested, again, you can scan yet another QR code. This one is on the 17th, and it's the sports marketing mug. It's a virtual meeting, and they're going to discuss sports marketing best practices with data retention and a CRM sync. And now we're going to go on to our actual session for today. My name is Christiane Rhodes. I work for CNA Insurance as Marketing Technology Director. And joining me today is Josh Arrington and Jane Musatova. If you guys want to go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sure. My name is Josh Arrington. I'm Chief Marketing Technology Officer at Capterall. We're a Marketo agency. I've been using Marketo for 18 years now. And yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Jane. I'm currently working at Walt, and I'm a global B2B marketing operations manager. I've been using Marketo since 2008, and I'm a two-time certified Marketo expert and a two-time Marketo champion.
Thank you. And for anybody attending, feel free to go ahead. I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have questions, go ahead and post them in the chat and we can review them either as folks are speaking as we're going through the slides, or there will be a Q&A session at the very end. So thank you. We'll kick it off. Josh.
Great. So just a quick overview of what we'll cover today, and feel free, as Christiane said, to put questions in the chat, and we'll certainly zig and zag as necessary to answer them. We're going to start with a high-level intro into deliverability, the key factors that affect your email deliverability, how to optimize the Marketo platform, and then some advanced strategies and techniques. Then we'll get into some tips, tricks, and some tools that you can use. And finally, we'll jump into the Q&A. So email deliverability is all about ensuring your messages end up in your recipients' inboxes and not their spam folders or worse. It's critical to the success of any email marketing program or campaign, because no matter how great your content is, if it doesn't reach the inbox, then your efforts are wasted. Deliverability is influenced by various factors. Understanding and optimizing these factors ensures your emails reach more of your target audience, leading to obviously better engagement and campaign success. Adobe is, of course, aware of all of these factors, and so Marketo has many features that allow you to optimize and monitor for deliverability. So we'll cover those features as well as some techniques and best practices and give you a clear path for optimizing your deliverability. So, first, let's walk through the levels of the email journey and see where emails may get lost along the way. We'll start at the top and level, and we'll work our way down. The deliverability story starts obviously before you hit that send button, before you launch your campaign. It starts with your database and your target audience. So later we'll share some best practices on keeping your database clean, your opt-in process, and optimizing that. Next, out of your target audience, some people may still not be sent the email. They might be excluded, though it should be small. This could be because of opt-outs, communication limits, invalid email addresses. Hopefully you clean those up, but there are various reasons, but should be small of the people you target who are sent. On the next level, out of your sent emails, some may not be delivered because of hard bounces or soft bounces. We'll get into what the difference is between those, how you can detect them, the different kinds. We'll cover how to avoid these and how to deal with them when they do happen. And then the next hurdle is getting into the inbox. Out of those emails that are delivered to the server, that server may choose to still hold some back and not deliver them to the inbox or put them in a spam folder. So we'll cover how to, avoid that, to build your reputation so that the server authenticates them and delivers them as you want them to. And then going a little past delivery, of those that emails that are delivered and get to the inbox, you want to know which you want to get them opened and clicked, so meaningful engagements. As far as it relates to deliverability, we'll cover getting emails opened and getting those engaged clicks, and how to deal with unsubscribes, how your unsubscribe process affects your reputation, and how to deal with that. So if we go, great. There are 4 factors that directly impact email deliverability, and I'll just cover them here again at a high level, and then we'll dive in deeper later on. First, your sender reputation is probably the most crucial. It's based on your past performance. So whether your recipients engaged with your emails, if they mark them as spam, the frequency of your emails, as well as if you end up on a blacklist. The bottom line is the better your reputation is, the more of your emails that will be delivered. The next one is email authentication. Even if you have a great reputation, if the server that's receiving your email can't authenticate that it's truly you sending that message, then it doesn't matter. They're not going to deliver it. So getting those technical aspects in place so that you are authenticated in your messages, or Marketo in this case is authenticated to send emails on your behalf, is very important. Next is list hygiene and accurate targeting. The health of your database is super important. There's things that you can do on the front end to make sure that the leads getting into your system are well opted in and they've made the choice they want to receive information from you. And also on the back end where you get feedback loop of people who are not engaging or they are marking unsubscribing, things like that. And we're going to discuss how to deal with those. And finally is email content and design. When it comes to the actual email content design, it's important to avoid spammy language and focus on providing real value. As always, just because not only for deliverability, but because of course you want your campaigns to do well.
We do have one question in the chat. It can often be difficult to determine the true reason behind a hard or soft bounce. What's the best source for definitions of Marketo bounce details and codes? And I think we will be covering that later on in the conversation, but any quick tips for right now?
I could just say that most of the codes for soft bounces start with are in 400s, and for the hard bounces in 500. So we're going to cover some of the most common codes, and you can also refer to Marketo Adobe documentation, and they also have the list of codes there.
And then there's another one as well about checking the sender reputation. And I believe that is also going to be, we will cover that one a little bit later in the conversation as well.
Yeah, we'll give some sources, but there's a lot of different services that will help you check your reputation and monitor that. Great. So email design has become less of a factor for spam filters. Years ago, it was a big factor because that's all they really had to go on. It was the content of your email. So it's less important now as far as spam filters. However, it's still important consideration for deliverability because it can affect the engagement, which leads to better or worse reputation. Content should be personalized and relevant. This is a Marketo crowd, so I know everyone knows that. HTML should be clean and clear with a balance of text and images. You should have your branded tracking CNAME set up so it matches your domains and links, hopefully, that you're sending people to, as well as the regulatory standard items of your unsubscribed links and your physical address and contact information. And then it's also a good idea just to, again, avoid spammy text and overuse of capitalization, things like that.
Okay, this is my slide, and I think we're all aware that keeping your database clean is key in Marketo, but it's also essential to high deliverability, and make sure that you're trustworthy and consistent. Make sure that you explicitly that you only send emails to those that explicitly requested to get communications from your company. So only send to those subscribers who gave you permission. And also respect the preference. If you have a preference center and you're saying that someone can sign up only to a newsletter, and then you start emailing them with salesy emails and different offerings that they never subscribe to, that's a bad practice, and that is going to get you reported as spammer, and you definitely don't want to do that. And also, you do want to allow your recipients to determine what type of content they are signing up for and how often they're going to be contacted. And that's something that you want to put also as a part of your preference center, and explicitly say we're going to be sending you emails not more than once a week or once a month. Like, I don't know how often you're communicating with your audience. And of course, that doesn't cover for transactional emails. Whatever they requested, whatever is purely transactional, that's fine. I'm talking here mainly about marketing emails, and it's good to set those expectations straight. And you need to be responsible with your database. You need to be honest about how you contacting your list, because if you violate those rules, then you will get reported sooner or later, and that will affect your deliverability. And if you're seeing that you have inactive accounts in your database, and that could be contacts that are just chronically non-responding to emails, maybe they are not interested in what you're sending them. And having a large database doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. You want to have a database that's active, that's engaged, that is interested in receiving your content and is responding to it, is opening your emails, is clicking on the links, is checking out your landing pages. And it's good to keep an eye on those that are inactive. And you can try re-engaging them. And the best way to do this is to send a couple of text-based emails. These are less likely to be caught as spam, and you can create a message that's kind of like asking for permission to continue to communicate with them. And then if they don't respond to a series of those emails, then you can decide that you just want to delete them from your database because they're inactive, and that's really not good for your deliverability. And next slide. Okay, and there's some good and bad opt-in methodologies. I'm pretty sure we're all aware of those, but let's just go over those. Double opt-in is probably the best way to get permission of a lead to be contacted. And that kind of allows you to hit both targets. On the one hand side, they are confirming the email address. So you are for sure going to get a correct email address, and you won't be caught in the typo type of the spam trap. And another thing is that they're explicitly giving their consent to receive your communications. And also, this is a requirement in some of the European countries. So also, from the legal standpoint, this is the safest option. The single opt-in, which only requires a form submission, is an okay practice, but that doesn't give you a chance to verify your email address. So that can cause more of the bad data emails in your database and will affect your deliverability rate. It's okay, but not recommended. And also, you can just add a checkbox upon form fill of purchase, which means that they did give you permission to email them, but also doesn't give you a chance to verify the data. Purchase lists, definitely no go. I think we all know that. The difference between purchase lists and rented lists is not that big. A rented list is just something you do not own, but it is provided by a third party, and then you kind of like agree to use that email list for a particular send. Maybe you have sponsored an event, maybe you have a business partnership with that company that's renting you a list. But in a nutshell, that means that these are not your subscribers. These are not your leads or your customers. It's their subscribers, and probably somewhere deep down in their privacy policy, they put this note that you may be contacted by our business partnerships. Chances are nobody ever read this line in the policy, and you might be marked as a spammer. So I wouldn't recommend using those lists. And enrichment of email address. I know it has been always a big topic, and we're all familiar with companies like ZoomInfo with Clearbit, and there's more that offer you to enrich the data. And while it definitely helps to understand better the industry, the revenue, to kind of create your ideal customer profile, But when it comes to emails, that's not a good practice because, first of all, the data doesn't get updated as often as we want it to. And sometimes people leave their jobs and you won't get that data updated soon enough. So you might be getting a lot of out of the box, out of the office notifications, and that also will affect your deliverability. And simply using an opt-out, just blasting with emails those that never subscribe to your emails, giving them the option to unsubscribe. Probably they will unsubscribe, or maybe they won't even bother, just report you as spammers. And yeah, don't do that. And that's all the opt-in practices.
Great. Next, so domain authentication, your email sender authentication is the backbone of deliverability as on the technical side. This requires setting up DNS records for SPF, DKIM, DMARC, and we can go through those. Each of these play a different role in that authentication. It's not really difficult to set up. You have to have access. It's just a text record. There are great guides on that Adobe has on the Marketo documentation that will guide you right through. But if not, I mean, some of you may just be passing this along to your IT team. But it's really important that these are set up and that you check that they're set up correctly. Again, it doesn't matter what your reputation is. This determines whether the server that's receiving your email can authenticate that you are the one who sent it. And this has changed over time, and it probably will continue to change. So keep that in mind. But these are the key ones now, and they've been solid for a while. So SPF is your sender policy framework. This is just an IP address that uses a DNS record for your IP address that says that you are authorized to send. In this case, that your Marketo instance is authorized to send on your behalf or your company's behalf. Then you have DKIM, which is domain keys identified mail, which adds a key that's publicly available and attached, a version attached to the email, that the server can then go ahead and verify that no one tampered with this message on the way to you, no one copied a previous message and sent it to you, that this message was in fact sent by you. And then DMARC, it just builds on the SPF and DKIM. It tells the server receiving your message what to do if something doesn't look right. If the SPF doesn't validate, if the DKIM doesn't validate, what to do with that. And the great thing about that is it will tell them, quarantine it or block it completely. But then it also has a feedback loop, which you can set to send alerts. So you can use services with your DMARC. Your DMARC should be set up regardless, but you can also use services that tie into your DMARC and receive all that feedback from your recipient servers so that you can act on that. So you can see if something is wrong with your record for something you're sending. So maybe one of the records you set up is incorrect, or if someone's trying to pretend to be you and sending messages out. So that's why you want to monitor those. And the next, aspect here is monitoring it, getting that DMARC monitoring set up, as well as monitoring if you are appearing on spam lists or blacklists. And we'll cover some tools on what you can use to do that.
And now we're going to go into some of the advanced practices that you can implement in your Marketo instance or in your client's Marketo instance. And what I recommend is to start to monitor those lists that could affect your deliverability. We call it creating a bounce house program. You can call it differently, but basically that's a program that leverages different Marketo tools tools, smart campaigns and smart lists, and those that can help you to take care of the chronic non-responders, of hard bounces, of soft bounces, of unsubscribed with reasons such as spam complaint, which is a big problem. And mainly you want to review those because some of them are meant to be deleted, but some of them you do want to give a chance, but you really want to keep an eye on those. So on the right-hand side, you see some of those lists that everybody should check, but based on your instance, you might be looking into other type of lists as well. But these are the essentials. And if we're going to go by each category, I'm going to start top to bottom. If we're going to look at the hard bounces, then category 1 and 2 are the most important ones. And we identify those based on the reason the hard bounce occurred, whether it's an invalid email, which can be an issue with deliverability, which is category 2, or category 1, which is a spam. And if we're seeing a lot of the category 1, we want to know like where it's coming from, why we're being marked as spam, if that's the email design, if that's the spammy subject line, if we're using from, which is different from the company name or the person that our customers or leads are familiar with. Now, this all could be reasons for someone to mark you as a spam. And what we want to do is we want to monitor those hard bounces in the smart list and break them individually by the reason for the hard bounce. And that can help you later to also manage them in your programs. And when we look at the soft bounces, those are Marketo persons who bounce with a category 3. And a subcategory 3999. This is the most common one, and it means someone has been marked as out of the office. And what you want to do, you want to only look at those who have been marked with this category for over 30 days, because especially in Europe, people tend to take vacations for up to 30 days. But if someone hasn't been there for months and hasn't change that, probably this person is no longer with the company, and maybe their IT just hasn't cleaned them up yet. Also, if we're seeing a lot of soft bounces happening for a specific person record, then we also want to investigate that and maybe allow it some time. But if you see soft bounce happening time after time for, let's say, 21 days, then that means that we want to mark them for deletion because they're just affecting our deliverability rate and they're not responsive. If you see somebody who's marked as unsubscribed because of customer complaint received from ISP, that's a big problem. Like if you're using Google Workspaces, you've probably noticed that at the top bar, you can unsubscribe without even having to scroll through the email and click the unsubscribe link. So when somebody does that, then you're going to receive this reason, customer complaint received from ISP. We don't want to email the unsubscribe. So yeah, that's somebody that you want to keep out of your database. And as for the chronic non-responders, I've mentioned that briefly in one of the previous slides, but like the way we look at it is these are people who received 5+ emails and didn't open or clicked on any of them within 2 months. 2 months is enough to understand that like maybe they're not interested in our content, maybe they're not engaging for other reasons. But some of the red flags here are that email content is really not relevant for them, or maybe you're not even making it to their inbox, and that can affect your deliverability rate. Even if now you don't see any problem, they might become a problem going forward. So either way, you want to keep an eye on them, and the way you can try to re-engage with them is by sending those text-based emails. You can decide how many you want to send. I recommend at least 3, and you can space them out like one email a week. And then if after 3 weeks, no response, no opens, no clicks, you want to delete them for sure. The next one is chronic bounces. Chronic bounces is somebody you see has bounced again more than 3 times over 21 days. Delete them. This will affect your deliverability. And the last one, potential bot clicks. So while those are harder to track, There's one cool way to do this that I actually heard at another event, that you can add to a template a 1x1 pixel, just like a white dot that nobody will notice or see. And then if you see that somebody is clicking on that 99% that's a bot. And what you can do is you can tie it to a specific UTM campaign, and then you can count how many, like who and how many times has clicked on it, and then you can filter those out as spam bots. That's not going to cover you for 100%, but that's definitely a cool trick to use in this case.
We do have one question in the chat. How can we revert the situation on records under hard bounce category 1? Since this doesn't really depend on us, it's the recipient server. Can we do something to get this fixed on our side, or is it just to contact the company and ask their IT to whitelist my IP?
We are going to cover the whitelisting, but generally you can only request whitelisting from known customers, somebody who wants to receive your emails, and not somebody you don't really have a prior relationship with. If you get reported as a spam, and that's coming from a provider, then usually if they see that you have fixed the problem and you have implemented better practices, then they can take you off the spam list. So in general, yes, that can be fixed.
In addition to contacting the recipient in general, you want to monitor that if you are on a public blacklist, right? Because oftentimes those servers will use the public blacklist to determine which emails get in and out. So if you appear on a public blacklist, work on getting yourself off of that public blacklist, maybe contact that blacklist or just pursue best practices until you're off that blacklist. And then you should see better results with those senders.
Okay. Next slide is about reporting, and Marketo gives you quite a robust way to report new emails, and you can see data around how many emails were sent, how many were delivered, recipients who unsubscribed, whether the spam complaints were sent to the ISP or other complaints were sent to the ISP. You can check your email engagement, bounces, non-delivery reports. And also on the right-hand side, you see the categorization of Marketo by bounce type. So we've covered the hard bounces, spam block, and invalid emails. The soft bounces are usually category 3, 4, 5. And the soft bounce could be a technical problem. It could be also because the email, like the problem is unknown, and then you want to give it some time and investigate it. So using the email deliverability reporting can help you to actually understand it better. But if you want to get even a more sophisticated reporting on deliverability, you can contact your Marketo Engage account manager or support, and you can check about integration with 225 OK. That integration will help you get more of a deep reputation management insight. So if you're serious about your deliverability strategy and you feel like you want to invest into this, that's could be a route to go. And the next slide. Yeah, and this is just to understand the email stats and how Marketo marks different statuses. Each record has one of the following: delivered, hard bounce, soft bounce, or pending. So when the status is in pending, you kind of want to wait and see what happens. It could be that Marketo is trying to send the email and is going to retry it for 24 hours. So if you do see that your email is open, it also counts as delivered. And if the email record shows as clicked email or unsubscribed, it is counted as delivered and open. So that's how you can understand the numbers and what they're made of. And the last rule is that if the email is open, then the bounces are ignored. So hard bounce takes precedence over soft bounces and delivered if the email hasn't been opened. And the next slide. Yeah, and there is a question about the codes. So these are some of the codes for the soft bounce, and you can see that they contain both 400s and 500s. So the 500s one are the ones that are telling you that the email wasn't received, that there's a problem with the account that is probably inactive, but it could be temporarily. And then after 24 hours, Marketo will try to get the email delivered, and then it will probably mark it as a hard bounce if this as a repeated error with the same code. The next slide. Okay, and here's some of the ways that you can optimize for deliverability. And you can see here how you can clean the existing emails. And of course, if you try to clean up your database on a regular basis and do it proactively, then that's going to enhance your chances on getting high deliverability rate. And here you want to highlight any email that bounced in the past 21 days and wasn't delivered. And you want to mark it as invalid. And here in the email invalid cause, you can populate the same data that bounced over 3 times in the past 21 days. And next slide. And also you can do this more proactively. You can create a trigger-based campaign, and you want any email that has bounced off in the past 21 days 3 times and wasn't delivered to also have the same, go through the same flow. You want to mark it as invalid because you don't want to keep retrying to send emails to those that soft bounce over 21 days 3 times. And it may be different for your use case if you're sending more than 100,000 emails per month, if you're sending quite a lot of content to the same audience, then you probably don't want to even wait for 21 days. That's something that I found useful in my practice, and we tried different time frames, and then we optimized 21 days because this was more or less the time period when we can say this was kind of a time frame that after that there was no reason to keep trying to reconnect with that audience because we kept getting those soft bounces, and we didn't want that to affect our reputation. So you want to be more proactive in that. The next slide. Yeah, okay, so how you can further categorize bounces, and this is a pretty cool way. You can use triggers and select and attribute data such as email bounce type, the name of the email, and the category. And later on, you can even categorize it further. You can understand if the audience you're emailing is from a specific industry, if they're from a specific company, and maybe you're emailing people from the same company way too often, and that's what's causing it. But like, it really helps you to get more insights. So I do recommend using Trigger Smart campaigns in Marketo and tokens. And like I said, like, there's even more ways to optimize it. What you can do, you can create the first touch and the last touch fields and stamp them from the moment you create them. And then if the first touch field is empty, you can set up with the value of the last touch. That's how you would also set up your attribution model for lead source, for instance. And then you can either use it in the scoring, you can deduct the points for specific hard or soft bounces. You can run smart campaigns that allow you to first filter the bounces and then curate those lists of leads that no longer result in bounces, and then you can remove the problem emails in the process. So there's really a lot of ways you can operate on this, depending on also how much time you have to do this. But this is there's a great blog on this that I'm linking here. So once you get the slides, you can read more on that. And yeah, next slide.
We do have one question in the chat, and but would you prefer to go through the rest, Jane, or do you want
no,
to?
sure, go ahead.
Okay. In cases where you see that you're not reading your clients' inboxes, so someone that you would know, delivery rate by business email domain, what's the most effective way to ask or instruct those clients to whitelist you? And you're using a shared IP address.
Okay, so we're going to cover the shared IP address. Well, the best strategy, if you have a trusted customer that knows you and wants to receive your emails, then you need to ask them to whitelist your IPs. For the shared IPs, you still have a list of IPs. They do change, however. So you need to contact your administrator and ask them what is the list of those shared IPs and provide them to the IT of your customer. And also another thing you can do if you're saying that you're emailing a lot of people from the same company, and that might be a bit overwhelming, and that might be causing deliverability issue. What you can do is you can throttle that. You can create smart lists. Like you can first of all create multiple smart lists in your instance, and like say, okay, like how many people do I have from company A, how many people do I have from company B, C, and then you can random sample them by like 2 in each group or 10 in each group, and that's going to be a percentage sample. And then you can create individual static lists, and whenever you're sending a campaign and you're worried that too many people from the same company will receive it at the same time, then you're going to cover for that, and that could also help you to maintain a good sender reputation. Okay, shall we go on?
Sure.
These are the codes for some of the hard bounces and the messages. These are some of the most common ones. 550, I would say, is the most common one. So what do you want to do with hard bounces? Well, really, there's not much we can do. I suggest not emailing them at all and deleting them from your database. The way Marketo identifies the hard bounce is when a recipient server bounced and marked your email spam or like, due to blacklist. So it results in email suspension for 24 hours, then it becomes eligible for emails again. But I really don't think that it makes sense to try to engage with hard bounces. And also, if the email address is invalid or doesn't exist, then yeah, that's a no-go. It's going to be marked as email invalid, and you shouldn't keep them in your database. So in a nutshell, how you can utilize Marketo Engage functionality is by using smart lists, by bucketing those hard bounces, soft bounces, bot clicks, bucketing those that you want to keep an eye on. I think this is a great strategy to use tokens and to utilize the trigger-based smart campaigns. Also make sure that you're running your email performance report. You can set up subscribers, you can include yourself and like whoever is on your team to receive those and review them at least once per week, and look at the factors that are impacting your deliverability. So yeah, these are some of the strategies that I found useful in my practice, and I hope you guys will find them too.
So inevitably, someone may mark your emails as spam. There's, I mean, it's going to happen. So there's a way of dealing with this. There's an arrangement between email senders and email service providers, or ISPs, called a feedback loop. And when an email or lead marks your email as spam, the loop allows the recipient to notify the server, to notify the sender, which is Marketo, that that's been marked as spam. So Marketo automatically changes the value of unsubscribe, of course, but it also passes the reason. And we can use that reason in a smart campaign to create alerts. So we know it's happening. Maybe you don't want to receive alerts, but you could set up another campaign, a list or whatever, so you can follow up and find the cause of the complaint and hopefully solve it. But obviously people will be unhappy at any time, but hopefully your database is all opted in nicely. And then just at a high level, the metrics to monitor, these are not an absolute by a long shot, but it's nice to have some guidance on what is normal and what is expected for a good target. These, of course, can vary, but as a general guide, I would target a bounce rate below 2%, well, 2 to 3% here. The important thing here is the mix of soft bounce and hard bounce. So if you have a soft bounce below 5, that might not be so much of a problem. There may be something going on there that you need to look into, but that's not a bad issue necessarily, an urgent concern. But if you have a hard bounce above 2%, then you have a serious issue and you really need to look into that, what's causing that. Next, opens obviously indicates an interest. So you want to review what your open rate is. Again, this varies by industry, by company, and how you target it. Hopefully you are getting an open rate of above 20%. Then the click-through rate, again, this indicates the level of interest. We'd like to see a target of above 2.5%. And then for the negative spam complaints, you want to see a very low, 0.02%. If you're seeing higher spam complaints, then it's time to look at your content, look at your targeting, and figure that out. And then unsubscribes. Unsubscribes, you hate to see them, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. If someone unsubscribes, they're telling you, hey, I'm not interested, and the automatic process is to remove them from those sending. So by default, your engagement should go up for your next send. So you want that feedback loop, but these are the numbers that you want to be monitoring and some general guidelines on the rates that you want to see.
Okay, so honestly, you guys, outside of the tools or anything, first and foremost, you want to maintain the good email practices, the high data hygiene, to make sure that you're sending to the right kind of people in your segmentations, to those that subscribed to your emails. But there was a question about the types of IPs, and having a dedicated IP is definitely a bonus. When you are on a shared IP address, you can't really build your reputation independently. And also IPs may change. And if someone on that shared IP is a bad actor, or if there are multiple bad actors, that will actually affect your deliverability as well. And you really don't want this to happen. So in order to avoid that, what you can do is you can request a dedicated IP address. It's an add-on, and you have to know that you need to warm it up correctly. This will take time. And if you do land on a spam trap on a dedicated IP, then that's quite unfortunate. Like I said, if you do demonstrate to like Microsoft or whoever reported you that you did take care of the problem, then they might actually take you out of that list, but you still need to be very careful. And also, not everyone is eligible to request a dedicated IP address. It's mainly for large corporates, those that are sending more than 100,000 emails monthly. So if you are only sending seasonal campaigns, then what you might want to do is to apply for the trusted IP. I've done it in one of the companies I worked at, and we got it. You need to fill out a questionnaire. I believe we will share a link to this questionnaire at the end of the webinar. And you can also find it in Marketo Engage documentation. So you can apply for it. You need to contact your account manager in Marketo Engage, and it's a fairly easy process. But if you do send more than 100,000 emails, then again, you wouldn't apply for it. So it's like either or. Either trusted IP for those that send less emails, or dedicated IP for those that send a lot of emails. And in order to apply for the trusted IP, you also need to have a very good reputation as of today. Otherwise, Marketo might not want to put you on that list. And there was a question about whitelisting. It's not a practice that you can implement as a Marketo engaged user. So for specific person segmentation that you're sending to on a regular basis, such as your customers, you can request that. What they need to do is to add your sender domain to an internal allow list, as well as your IP address. So if you're in shared IP, then you need to provide the shared IPs. And if you have a dedicated, then the one that's dedicated to you. This will ensure that your emails will make it to their inbox every time. And I don't recommend doing it with, let's say, leads or like those that are really not familiar with your company, because in most cases you'll get a no, and it's also going to be kind of weird. So request only from customers. And Everest Deliverability Tools, it's also a cool tool. It's a partnership of Everest and Marketo Engage. It is provided by an Everest platform, and it really could be a game changer when it comes to inbox placement, spam traps, and email engagement, which is beyond just opens and clicks. You can get a set of tools that you can leverage to see how your design actually looks, how it performs, how your pre-header and subject line renders across multiple platforms. You can see inbox placement within your seed list. You can also see proxy clicks that are kind of painful, like we'll know that Apple, Google proxy, Yahoo proxy, when they say that the email was open but wasn't really. And what you also can see is the read times, which I think is amazing, because while you can try and see, when you get bot clicks and so on and so forth, understanding how long people are actually reading your email can give you a good understanding if they are like reading it or if they're just opening and like, okay, whatever, it's not relevant, I'm not interested. Especially when it comes to newsletters, something that's content heavy. So just to summarize, email deliverability really goes hand in hand with the email engagement. So if you are sending to the right audience and you are sending engaging content, then you're in a good place. And you can utilize those tools and also the tools that I will cover in the next slide, and even enhance your current deliverability. And the next slide. Okay, so these are some of the tools that you can also use. These are free tools, and they can really help you to improve your deliverability and to troubleshoot how well you're sending, and how your IP address is performing. And what I recommend is to sign up for a couple of those tools and not just one, because it will help you to understand if the results across platforms are accurate. And the first two items on this list, the Google Postmaster tools and Microsoft SNDS, are the ones that can help you to improve your deliverability right away. Because most of the corporate accounts are hosted on either Google or Microsoft. And they're also quite easy to use for what it's worth. The sender score and Spamhaus org checker will give you an idea of what your sender score is, and it will check your IP address. You will see how your IP address has been performing on a daily basis. And that's also something that you want to check quite frequently. If you check it today and it's great, it doesn't mean that like in a week or in a month after you send a million emails, it's still going to be the same. So keep an eye on it. And especially when you have a high volume of email going out, you want to make sure that you're doing okay. But also it can help you to understand when your standard score suddenly drops and how to prevent that from happening. A Max Toolbox is a freemium offering. You can go in there and see how your domain is performing. You can set it like how you can check if you have set up your domain correctly, and if your email is reaching the inbox. Also for the Barracuda Central, that tool can help you to see if you are listed in any of the spam traps and can help you to manage those. And Joshua has also a few cool tips here.
Yeah, MX Toolbox again. They have a lot of tools, so you can check all of those SBF, DKIM, DMARC records, make sure they're set up correctly, as well as any other DNS records. So your CNAME for your landing pages or your tracking links, you can check that those are configured correctly. They also offer blacklist alerts, so they'll monitor if your domain ends up in a blacklist or your IP and alert you. Debouncer has the same services paid, and then Postmark has DMARC Monitor. As I mentioned, they have a feedback loop, so when a recipient server notices an issue with an email coming in, one of the records that isn't set up correctly, or someone is spoofing your account, it sends an alert to wherever you tell it to based on this DMARC. Postmark, what Postmark does, and there's some other services that do this as well, but Postmark is free on a weekly basis, I believe. It just receives all of those and compiles them and sends you an email each week with what has happened. So it's a great service for that.
And I think we had a couple more questions come through. We have about 5 minutes left, so I think we can get to a couple of them. In Marketo, is the CTR measured as unique clicks or total clicks? I've seen a couple of descriptions online, and some Pardot, for example, would give you both numbers in reporting.
So the unique clicks is a unique, it's measured as unique clicks. You can get the total clicks through an email link performance report, but in general, when you see a click-through number, it's the unique clicks.
And then one approach we've been exploring is allowing users to choose their email delivery time or have it automatically optimized based on behavior. How do you think this could impact email deliverability compared to standard sending practices?
I mean, whatever you can do to make sure more of your emails get open and clicked, this is perfect. This is great. Like, especially if you got this feedback from your clients, then definitely implement it and use it. And if you see that more emails are being opened, then perfect. That's really going to enhance your deliverability.
We've actually experimented with using OpenAI. We extract all the email history from a lead. We send it to OpenAI as a kind of a CSV and ask OpenAI what's the best send time. So based on when we've sent them and when they've opened, you can go back as far as you want and give that data, and it'll give you a time. And we've used that in future campaigns, and we've seen a dramatic increase in the open rates, and open rates was the big jump. Yeah.
And for anybody interested as well, there was, I believe, a couple sessions. I know, Josh, you did a session at Adobe Summit, and there was another session as well where they kind of did a full walkthrough of how to set up those programs as well. So if you registered for Summit last year, you can go back and watch those recordings. And there is another kind of an add-on on that. Can you please explain how to optimize automatically the email delivery time based on behavior? And I think that was kind of covered in some of those AIs, but anything additional?
You wouldn't have to use AI. You can just kind of create your own algorithm. I think it's easier to use the AI these days in that case, but you could create whatever algorithm you wanted. I'm not sure, Jane or Christiane, if you have things that you've done within Marketo with smart campaigns for determining that, but nothing's coming to mind.
I mean, you can test your subject lines and pre-headers and see which ones are performing better. So like whatever you can optimize within Marketo in terms of your content design, that will also affect your deliverability. So keep testing.
Absolutely.
And then I know there were a couple, I think we have time for just one more. There was someone who was asking some questions about if you were sending an email using a dedicated IP where there were low volume sends. So do you have any advice of what would happen if you were using a low volume send? Like, let's say maybe you signed up for the dedicated IP, but have dropped below that 100,000 K or 100,000. Any information on that?
So I don't know if it's a hard limit, but Marketo states that the 100K per month is the limit for a dedicated IP. I don't know if they would turn down your money if you really wanted to buy the IP. the dedicated IP, but in general, if you don't have a high enough volume, you don't keep that IP warm enough. And what can happen in those cases is the ISPs, so the servers receiving the emails, when you do send emails, they see a big spike. And you don't want spikes coming from an IP address because it sets off the filters. So if you see a spike, you might get blocked just because it's uncharacteristic from this IP address to send this many email addresses or emails. That's my understanding of why you would wouldn't want to go to a dedicated IP if you don't have the volume.
And I think we are just at time. So thank you everybody for attending. I don't know, Josh or Jane, if you had any real quick closing remarks on that. We're just at time today. We will be sending out the recording afterward. And then and I know some of us may be posting it, it'll be posted on the YouTube channel. Thank you everybody for attending today. We appreciate your questions and comments, and happy inbox hitting.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
guys.